Hey, this is five-time All-Star Andrew McCutcheon, and you're watching BT Talks Baseball. Take it away, Brett.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back inside BT Talks Baseball. I want to thank Andrew McCutcheon for that great introduction, and it's great to be back. As you know, I have not been doing an episode every week. I've been busy reformatting the show, retooling it, and getting ready for a really exciting upgrade, which is going to be launching in January. I can't say too much about it now, but suffice to say, it's going to be a brand new BT Talks Baseball on a brand new sports network, and I'm really excited to tell you all about it very soon. For now, I wanted to hop back on to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. Of course, the 60-game season is over, and 16 teams have advanced to the postseason. With me today to talk about the postseason is two-time All-Star and two-time World Champion Howard Johnson. Let's get right to it. Hojo, thank you for joining me right here on BT Talks Baseball.
You got it, Brad. Anytime, buddy.
Hojo, you and I spoke just before the season started. You talked about how important it was for there to be a baseball season. What did you think?
Just an odd year because spring training was interrupted. It was extended, and just a lot of very unusual things that went on. 60-game season, players opting out, the whole 9 yards. It was a different type of year for sure. I think everybody would agree with that, and probably a year that everybody wants to forget.
And what's your take on this 16-team playoff format, almost like a tournament of sorts, the first series being best of 3 and then moving on from there? What do you think about the playoffs?
I think it certainly rewards teams that aren't good. I mean, the more wild cards you add, the more diluted, the champion becomes. I'm more of a purist. I kind of like you win your division and you're in, Maybe one wild card and that's it. But I just don't like to have so many teams in it that anything can happen. And the thing is that, it kind of gives you a minor league feel to it almost.
And as a former player, somebody who has been in postseason baseball, some of the most exciting playoff series in history, what is a player thinking going into this postseason, even though it's a little bit different than in past years?
Well, I think you're very excited, first of all, because it's a little bit different this year because 60-game season is relatively a sprint. That's basically 2 months of baseball. And normally it would be, 5 months of baseball where you're playing, almost 6 months of baseball. So it's just a little bit different, but mentally you're still getting ready. I mean, anything can happen. You're in the tournament and you got a chance. And so hopefully your pitch holds up. I mean, that's what it all comes down to usually.
Well, Hojo, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me right here on BT Talks Baseball.
You got it, man. Anytime, buddy.
Now, one of the teams that did not advance to the expanded playoffs was the team I root for, the New York Mets. Joining me to talk about what went wrong for the Mets is SNYs Gary Apple. Gary, thank you so much for joining me right here on BT Talks Baseball.
Always my pleasure, Brett. Good to be with you.
So, Gary, you and I spoke earlier this summer, and I know we were both excited about the prospects for the Mets this season. What went wrong?
Well, I think there were a number of factors, but I think when you really boil it down, the number one thing was the fact that their pitching just was not there. What began as a season which was supposed to have DeGrom and Syndergaard and Stroman and Steven Matz that we had seen second half of last year had made 30 starts each of the last 2 years, and then Porcello and Waka battling for the last spot in the rotation, the other moving into the bullpen. None of that played out. You basically had DeGrom, you had the emergence of David Peterson, you had Lugo, who, projects to potentially be a solid number 3 starter moving forward, but 2 of his last 3 starts were not very good. So I think when you really get down to it, you win with pitching. This is an organization that has been built on starting pitching, that's been behind whatever success they have had, and it just was not there for them. There were other reasons as well, but if you need one in particular, I believe that was it.
Obviously, this was a very disappointing season for the Mets and their fans. New ownership is on its way. What were some of the positives you could take from this season, and what does the future look like for the New York Mets in your eyes?
Well, I think there's a lot to look forward to. I think, number one, the emergence of Dominic Smith, both as a bona fide, everyday player, but also a leader and a voice for not just the Mets, but for baseball. And I've known Dom since he first came up. I knew him down when he was getting ready to come up and was immediately drawn to him. So not surprised. I was so bummed out when he had his early struggles and then he had the run-in with Mickey Callaway and, at the beginning of camp, and immediately got himself in the doghouse, and then he didn't hit. There was all the talk, let's give up on him very quickly, let's get rid of him. And I was never in that camp. I liked Dominic Smith, and I thought, you're going to give up on a guy who's 23, 24 years old? I just didn't see it, and I'm thrilled. And I think that's something that is something that can be built upon. I think what's going to happen at shortstop was a revelation. Andres Gimenez, we knew he had the glove. Could he hit in the big leagues? I think the answer to that is an unequivocal yes. So how does that shape up with Rosario? Can he move to the outfield? That's another guy I would not want to give up on. He's 24 years old. If he can make a move to the outfield, I think you've got to consider that. Can he slide? Can he play third base? I think there's a lot of things to build upon. I think the future can be bright here. I do think they need to spend some money this offseason, and it appears that they are going to have new ownership, which could lead to the opening of some purse strings. We know that JT Realmuto is out there. Listen, Bryce Harper has been very vocal down in Philadelphia that they need to re-sign JT Realmuto down there. He would fit perfectly in a Mets uniform. I think that has got to be front and center. He is the premier free agent when it comes to catching. Maybe the premier free agent in all of baseball this offseason. I think you've got to go out and make a really strong, compelling argument and bid to sign JT Realmuto.
Well, Gary, you've become one of the foremost authorities in Mets baseball. You do a great job on SNY. Thank you so much for joining me right here on BT Talks Baseball.
Absolutely my pleasure, Brett. You stay well.
Well, now it's time for Mel's Memories, and we have not heard of Mel's memory in quite some time. Pops, what do you got? I think you got a playoff memory today.
Okay, so we went to it was a playoff game, and I don't remember who they were even playing. That's the game that Benny Agriani hit a home run, but all I remember is that I kept saying, do you want to bring a sweatshirt? You said, no. I was wearing a sweatshirt, and I think a jacket, and a coat, and probably a hood, and it was freezing, and you were wearing shorts. And finally, in spite of yourself, you gave up, and you said, you know what, I'm really cold, and we went and got a sweatshirt, and it was $40, which aggravated me no end, but I smiled the whole time.
Well, I remember that game very well, and there was not enough hot chocolate at Shea Stadium to warm us up that night. Thank you for sharing. Say hi to Mom. I love you. Well, that'll do it for another episode of BT Talks Baseball. I want to thank my guests, Howard Johnson and Gary Apple. Thanks to my dad for sharing his memory. And, of course, thank you. I leave you, as always, with the words of the immortal Tug McGraw, you gotta believe. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you real soon. If you are interested in getting a signed copy of any one of Brett Topel's books, please visit us at www.topelmetsbook.com.